Good day, everybody, and welcome back to our very last day of our SUSE Linux Enterprise Server version 12 training workshop series. This is where we have learned Linux the easy way. My name is Jaco Foster, and I am a SUSE certified training engineer from SABNT Tech. As always, my colleagues is on standby to answer any topic-related questions. And for any longer questions, please send us an email to suse@sabttech.com. Let's have a look at our agenda for today. So today we'll be looking at the RPM and libzip, and we'll look at our software repositories, which is zypper. And then we'll have a look at how to shut down and reboot our server from the command line. And lastly, we'll look at the SUSE training, certification, and career paths. So let's have a look at all of these. Let's have a look at software repositories. Again, this is a very detailed subject, and we will not be discussing all the detail, especially with RPM. We'll be going through plenty of theory on RPM till we get to libzip. And in libzip, we will continue with some more detail till we get to the practical, which is zypper. So please bear with me as we go through all the theory. So first up, what is software repositories? What do we use software repositories for? So a software repository is directories that contain RPM software packages and metadata files. It also can be accessed easily by the RPM meta managers, and it's used to install software. Then also a software repository can be accessed from different media such as our network, our DVD disks, and local file systems. Software repositories provide many benefits such as they provide catalogs for the RPM meta managers to use when doing RPM dependency resolutions. This means when we install a pattern, it can automatically resolve the dependency RPMs and also install them. Then they provide centrally managed and accessible sources for installing software and updates, and they provide a framework for tracking and finding different versions of our software. So this is just a quick overview of what is software repositories. Next up, let's have a look at our libzip first. So libzip is the engine that enables the package and dependency management. Now we need to understand how the libzip engine works. So libzip directly communicates with our package manager, or RPM manager. And in return, the RPM manager will install the files onto the file system itself and will update the RPM database at the same stage to keep track on what is installed and what is not installed. So with libzip, we've got a few libzip utilities, or rather utilities which make use of the libzip engine. Some of the utilities are YAST, zypper, and package kit. Package kit, you can install that afterwards, and it's not natively installed on SLES. Then the libzip software repository types is packages, patterns, products, and patches. So we will be looking at them a little later again. Packages is the RPM packages that includes our patch and delta RPMs. Then a package also contains files to be installed on our filing system. When we look at patterns, a pattern references to one or more packages, and typically install all packages needed for a certain server role. So once we call a pattern, then it will resolve all the necessary and dependency packages to also install them simultaneously, instead of installing them one by one. Then we've got a product. So a product contains one or more patents again. Now, a definition of or example of a product will be SLES for SAP or our high availability extension for SLES. Those are all examples of a full product. Then usually a product is associated with its own support and maintenance, such as extensions and add-ons. Then patches. It references one or more update packages. A package also provides as both full and patch delta RPMs. So you can update our packages on a system should you have a newer source. And this especially is helpful when you have a live and registered system with SLES, with SUSE, and then you can be able to update your packages using the update command within the repository manager. So next we're going to look at the RPM basics. RPM is made up of several components. So first we've got the RPM database, we've got the RPM package manager, and then the RPM packages itself. Now the first portion is our database. So the database contains information on all installed RPM packages. It also keeps track of all the files that are changed and created when a user installs an RPM. Then it works in the background of the package manager. When we look at our package manager, it's a utility that handles installing and uninstalling RPM packages. So it's important to note that libzip communicates with our RPM package manager. And then the RPM package manager in return will update our database and then install the files to our file system. Then a RPM package is the software package for easy installation onto a SUSE Linux Enterprise server. Now let's look at the RPM names. When it comes to the SUSE Linux Enterprise server, RPMs follow a naming convention. So when we look at our naming convention of a RPM itself, we've got our software name, and that's the name of the software package. Then we have the software version, and that's the version of the software contained in the package. Then we have our release number, and the release number of the software version is in the package. Then we've got the architecture, and that's the hardware architecture the software is compiled and designed for. Now we're going to look at our RPM commands. When we look at our RPM commands, this is just a list of all the basic commands to interact with our RPM package manager. I suggest that you take a screenshot of this because it's always easy to refer to. We will not be running this as a practical in our labs, but it's good to take note that you can work with RPM directly. So the first one we look at is our RPM-I, and this installs a package. If you look at the -U option, it also installs a package, or you can use this to update an already installed package. When you use the -F option, it reinstalls or updates an already installed package. That's the difference. It must already be installed when using -F. When you use a -E, it uninstalls a package. The -Q, you can query the RPM database, and then a -QP, you inspect a package that's not yet installed to get more information from that package. Then you do a -QI, and you can list some detailed package information with this command. Then a -QF is a very handy command with installed packages, and it tells you which package does the specified file with the full path belong to. So now let's have a look at our software repositories and this time zypper. Now again, we need to remember that zypper makes use of the libzip engine, and the libzip engine in return works with the RPM database manager. So we will be focusing on zypper today. So a few terms that we need to take note of is repository. That is a local or remote directory containing packages and metadata. Then the term product, that represents a whole product. Then the term pattern, a compressed file in RPM format that contains the files for a particular program. In other words, it's a set of packages or contains one or more packages to define it easier. Then a patch consists of one or more packages and may be applied by means of a delta RPMs. And in our package dependencies, this contains packages that are dependent on other packages. And here is zypper. With zypper, we've got quite a few things to do, and we'll try all of them on our service shortly. So the first thing with zypper is you can get zypper by getting help in zypper by typing zypper space help. Then we've got our zypper LR, which will list the software repositories. This is all the repositories which is currently registered on our system. Again, the repositories may consist of local repositories from our own disks or ROMs, or even online repositories for a registered system. Then we've got our zypper AR, which adds a repository, and we will be adding our repositories with the ISO, which we have downloaded. Then we go zypper ref, and this will refresh the repository metadata. Why is this necessary? Because once you have an online system and there's changes to the metadata on the online site, which we expect because we want updates, then we need to first refresh that and ensure we get the latest package to be installed on our system. Then we've got our zypper MR, and this stands for modifying our repositories. Now with this, there's three options which we can use. When we do a modification, we can either enable it, either disable the specific repository, or we can set the priority. Now when we use the command itself, it's a zypper, an MR, and we'll have to choose one of these options. Then you can also decide on how you want to define the package. Now I like to use the number because it's easy. But you can use the name, or you can use the physical source to work with the modifications. And then we use the zypper RR command. This is to remove repositories. And again, you have an option on how you want to interact with the repository. And then we've got I also like to use the number which is allocated to our repository. The next one we'll be looking at is our zypper, and this is a shortcut to list all the available packages. Now you can also run the PT command, which will list all the patterns, the LP, which will list all the patches, and then the LU, which will list all the updates that's available on our resources. Then we look at the zypper SE command, which we list and search. Now we will use the command to define the type. Now the type, you have to determine, are we going to do a package, are we going to do a pattern, or a patch, or an update? And you have to then specify the type here if you want to search for certain packages or patterns. Then we're going to do a query on a package, and then we will be doing a install on a package, and you define the type again, that which type of package you want to install. And then you use the zypper RM to remove a package, and you go remove a package -t, define a type, and this is a package I want to remove. Now, important to note here is you don't need to define the -t if you're only working with packages, because as per default, zypper works with packages only, unless you define it differently. So we will be typing out a full command to get used to the -t command. So when we ever query something else, we know we can query patterns as well. So let's have a look at our server. We'll be using server 1 for this exercise. Let's open up our server. There we go. Then I'm going to open up my terminal and maximize it, and then just zoom in. So before we start, let's ensure we've got our ISO mounted. So I'm going to go to my DVD, go to settings. This is for you who have not already defined the location of your ISO, which you have downloaded from SUSE's website. Ensure that you are on the CD/DVD. You go to your images file, you go browse for it, you go to downloads, you find your image file and hit open. And then you click OK once you've done that. Right click on it and you need to connect it. I'm just going to disconnect mine to show you, and then reconnect mine. And then once it pops up, it will ask you to authenticate it. You can authenticate it, which is good, but I want to show you another method to add our repositories. So let's authenticate it. And it's currently loaded. Let's just double check, and it's automatically mounted. Did I close my window? Alright. Okay. So let's run our first set of commands. Again, important to note is when we work with zypper, this is only meant for a privileged user, because normal users should not make software changes on a server. So let's switch to the root user. So we go sudo -i, and that switches us to our root user. Now we can run all of these commands. The first one will be zypper and help. And here it will give you a whole list of possible instructions or commands you can interact with zypper. You can go through this on your own time. So let's clear. And we're going to do a zypper LR to see what's our current state like. So we go zypper, list repositories, enter. And everybody should already have one listed repository on it. Now, some of it may work, some of this may not work, because we're not certain how every person installed their ISO and if the naming convention was right. So we will rather remount our ROM and then add the repositories again. So our next command is we must add the repositories. But before we can add the repository, we must know where's the source of our repository. So one of our commands we ran earlier on another session was to mount our ROM. So let's do that again. Let's go mount, and we're going to say our source file is /dev/sr, and I tab it out because we know that sr0 is my source ROM. And then we want to mount it to /mnt, which is going to be our temporary mount location for today. And hit enter. So let's do a ll on /mnt to see if there's data inside. And yes, I'm happy I see data. So let's clear it. And we can also do the ls/blk just to check our mount point. And we can see that my ROM is mounted to /mnt. Good. So now let's add our first repository. So our command will be zypper minus then add repository ir. Then our source of the repository will be our mnt, because that's the one we've just mounted. And now we have to define a name for our new resource. So we can call it SLES 12 SP4. If you have any other disks, you can call it SP3, doesn't matter which version you have. And let's hit enter. And now it states that we have successfully added our repositories. So our next command, let's first see if it was successfully added with the zypper lr. So we go zypper, list repositories, and now we see we have another repository listed. Now we have to modify a repository. So depending on our naming convention, it will sort it accordingly. And we can now change our priorities, but we need to modify a repository and disable a repository for this purpose. Now the newly added one at mine is number 2. So I don't want to make any change to that. I want to make a change to the old repository, which I know that might be broken. So let's go and disable the old repository. So in my case, this is number 1. So we go zypper, modify repo, and we'll do a -d to disable it. And I will now disable repository number 1. You see here, number 1. You can either use the full name, okay, or you can use the source if you knew what a source were. So I'm going to hit enter, and that should disable that repository. So let's do a zypper lr to see our current state. And it shows that that repository has now been disabled. Okay. We can also re-enable a repository by doing the same command and say enable. And we want to say enable number 1. And we can enable it again. And we want to list our repositories with the lr command. And you'll see it's re-enabled. So let's clear the screen. Now we want to remove a repository. To remove a repository, you need to know the number you want to remove. So again, we're going to run the zypper lr to remove a repository and hit enter. I want to remove the old repository because I'm not certain if it's working. So let's do that. We'll go zypper, remove repository rr space and the corresponding number entry. In my case, it's number 1. And I'll remove repository. Now let's go list our repositories again. Zypper, list repositories, enter, and we only have 1 repository left. So we also need to refresh our repositories. I think we have skipped that step, but we can do so now. So before we can continue, let's first refresh our repository. Let's go zypper, ref. And this will refresh all the metadata within our repository to ensure it's updated. There we go. All the metadata has been updated. So we've got the latest information from our current repository. Now let's quickly run the next command, which is our zypper PA, which will list all packages. Now this is quite a long list. So you go zypper PA, and that will give you a very long list. For the fun day off, we can just do another one quickly. Let's do the PT for patterns. And we can do patches as well if you'd like. But let's just do PT. And it will list all the patterns that we can add to our system. Now each pattern consists of a whole set of other packages. Okay. So to search for a specific package, we do the zypper, and we'll go to search function, and we will define what type of product or package we're looking for, and this is a package. I'm going to just show you. If you hit tab here, tab, you will see what options is available to search for. So you go -T and you go tab, and it will show you. You can use any of the following descriptions. So we'll be using the package, and we'll look for iftop. And it found iftop. Very handy tool to monitor real-time interface bandwidth usage. So the next one is, let's just get some information of this package first before we install it. We go zypper and we go give us some information of the iftop, and it will tell you a whole lot of detail within our RPM information of this package. And we will this time install the package. So let's go zypper install, and we can do a -T, we can do a package, and we'll install iftop. Alright, so I'm just going to give you a little time to catch up. So this will now install our package, and it will tell you if there's one package to be installed, and are you certain you want to continue. It will give us some information on the space it will utilize, and we go yes, or you could just have hit enter because the Y was already our default option. But I'll put yes and enter, and that will install our package. So let's quickly have a look. What does iftop do? Let's do iftop, and we know it's ETH0, which is our interface, and let's see if it works. Oh, I haven't used iftop in a long time. I think we just have to put iftop itself. There we go, yes. So it automatically listens on our ETH0, and this will monitor our traffic in real time. And you will see it also calculates the amount of data that was that occurred through our interface. Q to quit iftop. So let's remove this package iftop. We go zypper and we say remove the package, and we don't have to define it, but we can do so as a -T package, and we'll remove the iftop package. And now it tells you it will remove the iftop package, and if there were any other dependencies, it will also remove it should it not be needed by any other package. Great, and we go yes, and we uninstall our package. Now that brings us to the end of our software repositories and working with zypper. So there's another way that we can also work with software repositories, and that is through YAST. So let's do exactly the same thing, doing this in YAST. So let's go to YAST this time, and we need to look at our software management portion this time, because this is where we will be installing our software management. At the very bottom, there's our software repositories should we would like to manage the software repositories that we have available. Let's go in there and see what we have, and we currently only have one software repository. Here you can add repositories using YAST as well, the same that we did with zypper. We're not going to make any changes, so press Alt-C to cancel, and cancel. Let's go to our software management and hit enter. Now we have to search for our package, and we need to ensure that we go to the search phrase option. So let's go to Alt-P, we're already there, and type in iftop and hit enter. And now it finds iftop on our right hand side. Now to install it, you can just hit the spacebar, but there's also optional actions which you can run from here. So let's do Alt-T to see what actions is available. And we want to say we want to install it. So we can either use the toggle, which is space, or we want to install it. So let's install it. The other way, you could have just highlighted it and hit spacebar. I'm hitting spacebar on top of that, and it would also highlight it to install it. But it's good to know that there's other options available using the actions option. And all you have to do now is press accept, Alt-A. And it installs our package and tells us, well done, our package is installed and finished. The same goes if you want to uninstall a package. So let's open up software management again. We go search for iftop. And now it shows us it's already installed. It's got an I in there. Why? Because we have installed it. Now we have to use the actions to do something with this. Let's go Alt-T. And so we want to delete this package. There's also, you can lock it so it cannot be tampered with. But we want to delete this. And we'll go Alt-A. And that have removed the package. And Alt-F for finish and Alt-Quit to be done with our software management. That brings us to the end of our training session for software repositories. Our next topic is how to reboot and shut down our server from the command line. So our first command is the reboot command, and that's quite easy. All we do is we just type in reboot, and that will reboot our server immediately. But we can also reboot using the shutdown command. That will be shutdown -R, and this will give you 1 minute for the server to do the shutdown or the reboot procedure. You can cancel this instruction within that minute by running shutdown -C, and it will cancel the reboot instruction. You can also shut down our server by running the shutdown command. You have to use shutdown -H to halt the system. It also gives you 1 minute to shut down the server, and you can also type the -C command, shutdown -C, to cancel this instruction of shutting down your server. You can shut down your server immediately by using the shutdown -H space 0. That means 0 minutes. So you can shut it down immediately without the 1 minute timeout. Then there's another way of doing that, and that's using the shutdown now command. The now basically does a -H space 0. So let's quickly try that on our server. Okay, and I'm going to open up terminal again. So the first command we'll run is the reboot command. The other two we don't have to do. I'm going to do the easy ones for now. So we have to be a privileged user. So I'm just going to do a sudo and reboot, and that should basically reboot the server immediately. Let's see, and there it goes. So it reboots. Let's give it a moment to boot up again. Shouldn't take that long. And in our next command, we'll do the shutdown now command. Just go in Linux. Open up the terminal. And this time we will do the shutdown now command. The sudo shut down now. And this will completely kill my server from the command line. And there we go, server is switched off. So that's the end of this section. Now you have been following our course online and you want to know what to do next. So next you can either follow the certification path from SUSE, or you can even build a career within SUSE. Let's look at the next slide. So some of the training options that's available from SUSE is on the training.suse.com website. So here you can choose what type of training do you want. Now SUSE don't only have the Linux product. It's got plenty of other products. For example, our SAP products, we've got some storage products, and a few others which you can explore. So the SUSE product range is really wide. So once you go on the Linux side, you can go and choose your specific course you'd like to attend. And once you get to a course, you can select one of those courses and a delivery partner. And once you get the delivery partner, you click on the registration link and it will take you to the delivery partner to register for a course and pay for their services to teach you whatever product you'd like to know. And once you get to the product, then you register for it directly. Let's quickly have a look. So here I am on the SUSE Training website, training.suse.com, and here's all the options we have. So we'll be looking at the courses first. So click on courses. It will open up the courses page for us. And here are some of the training options which we can choose. So let's go look at Enterprise Linux. Let's open that up. And inside Enterprise Linux, there is quite a few options which we can look at. So the training that our whole set of trainings were based on is the course SLE 201 version 12. So let's click on this. And here it gives you an overview of the full administration course, the key objectives, what you should learn from this, for which audience this is, and then the course outline, which topics will be covered, and also the detail on some of the topics. Then you don't, for this specific course, there's no prerequisites, and you can then select a partner. As you can see, the top partner currently, which is delivering at this stage, is the SAP NT Tech, and you can register for the course over here. So let's click the registration button, and it will take you to the partner, and you can click the register button to sign up for the course. And you put your details in there, and you can now register for the course. Let's go back to the SUSE Training website. And then there is the learning paths. Let's quickly have a look at the learning paths. So the first set of learning paths is the SLES for SAP path. Now there's quite a few courses which you can run to learn more from Linux. So the first one you start with is the SLE 201, similar to the one that we have done now, just the full version. Then you can go over to the engineer portion of this course, which is called the SLE 301, and that's called the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server Advanced Administration. This will take you 4 days to complete. For the SLES for SAP path, this is not a requirement, but it's definitely recommended, and it's only optional though. Then you will follow the path going to the SLE 321, which is deploying and administrating the SUSE Linux Enterprise High Availability. You need to know that. That takes you 3 days. And then next up, you will look at the SLE 311, which is the SLES for SAP Applications HA Deployment and Configuration. Those are for 3 days. And then we go to the SLE 322, which is the SLES for SAP Applications HA with NetWeaver. That will give you insight on that portion. And if you are using HANA, it's good to look at the SLE 323, which is the SLES for SAP Applications with HA. And then if you are using public cloud, either way, you will look at the SLE 312 SLES for SAP. That's our application deployment and management in Azure. or in AWS. And all of these will build you quite a strong career in the SLES environment. Another path which you can look at is looking at our storage options. And for that, you'll be running the SLE 201 version 15 course, which is administration. And then you can look at the SE, which is the first administration. Then we look at the SES 201 version 6, which is our entry level. And then we'll go to the SES 201 version 6, the Enterprise Gateway Administration, and then the 301, which is our engineer version. And after that, you can also look, if you want to use the deployment functionalities, we look at the SES 211. When we look at the SUSE Manager, which is also a career path on its own, you can start with the SLE 201 version 15. We've done the version 12 right now. There is also a bridging course available between version 12 and 15, which only takes a day. Then you will look at the SUSE Manager Deployment course, which is the SMGR 211 version 4. And you can go over from there to the 201, the SMGR 201 version 4 course, which is the SUSE Manager Basic Operations. And the question is, using SUSE Manager for retail, then there's a retail portion which you can run, and that's a 212 version 4, and both of them goes over into the advanced, the engineer level, which is the SMGR 301 version 4 training. So what does it look like if you build yourself a career path or a proper certification path to get recognized? The certification path is available at the training.suse.com/certification link. Now there's 3 levels when it comes to SUSE certification. Your first level is your administration level, and this is where you will start with the SLE 201. When you come to the engineer level, that's usually the 301 versions, and that will give you the second level of qualification in this specific topic. So you've got our Linux Enterprise as an example. We've got OpenStack Cloud, Enterprise Storage, and Systems Management, which you can follow. So when you have a combination of 2 engineer certifications, this one and this one, okay, that's now been retired, so let's say any of the other ones, and you get 3 administration certificates, any of the 3 at the bottom, and then another certification from another track, as we showed you on any of the career paths at the back, then you become the highest level in SUSE, which is called an architect level. It takes a while to get there, but it's well worth the effort. Let's see how we can get to that portion. So for that, you go to the SUSE website, then you go to your certification here at the top, click on certification. So wait for it to open, and it will bring you to the specific certification path you want to follow. So let's look at the Linux administration. We'll click on that first, wait for it to open, and we'll go down and search for the examination information we want. The one we will be looking at this stage is the SCA in, it should be this one over here, SCA in Enterprise Linux 12, and let's click on exam information. And this tells you what you can expect in an exam and what's the cost to also do the examination. All right. You can go through this on your own time. Let's quickly go back to our slides. Then lastly, this training was provided to you by SABNT Tech. You can find us on sabntech.com, and should you like to know more about our SUSE range of products and services, you can go front/SUSE. Our blood is really green at SABNT Tech, and we hold a few certifications and qualifications as a company. You can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can search for us at the full name, SAB Entity Tech, and you'll find us, and you can follow us also. And then you can also follow us on YouTube and Twitch by using the SABT Tech as one word, as showed over here. Then some of the training topics which we covered over the last few days, and that was our SUSE Linux flavors, our GUI logon and navigation, our file system hierarchy standard, which was the FHS, our Linux file types, the shell environment, navigating with the command line interface, the Vim text editor, file system permissions and ownership, YAST, user management, then process administration basics, process scheduling, network management, storage administration, remote administration, RPM and libzip, and we spent some time in zypper as our software repository. And then we looked at the SUSE training certifications and career paths. I was your trainer for all of these sessions. My name is Jaco Foster, and here are some of the credentials which I hold with SUSE, some of our certification paths. And this brings us to the end of this training session. This brings us to the end of our technical training series in the SUSE Linux Enterprise Training Workshop for version 12. We now have a few moments to answer some questions, and for longer technical questions, please send us your queries to suse@sabttech.com. Then we would like to hear from you, whether you've been following us on the live sessions on Twitch, or you've been following us on videos on YouTube or the videos on Twitch. We really need to hear from you in order to deliver some more training in the future. Quickly grab your phone and quickly scan this QR code and just fill in the survey for us. A few basic questions. You can also follow the survey at this link. You can just type it out. And yes, that's basically it. It's been an honor and privilege to give you this training and provide you with some insight into the SUSE Linux world. We at SAB Tech would like to thank you for dedicating your time and also for putting your trust in us to deliver you this training. I am Jaco Foster from SAB Tech. Have a wonderful day and a prosperous week. Keep well.